I'm sure that you can, well, you can of course contact us, or I'm sure that the Civil Society Union of Roads to Chart can also inform you of whether the proceedings are planning to visit your country in the near future. Again, as I mentioned before, in inputting into the agenda, some of the key questions are when to provide your information and who you could perhaps work with in coalitions or networks. And we are happy to provide you with information and advice about when you should be providing your information. And the Civil Society Handbook also provides the practical information about deadlines for submission of information. I'll just mention very briefly three opportunities for inputting into the agenda that will be coming up in the coming year. The first is that there is currently a discussion about the new optional protocol to the Convention on the Rights of the Child. Children's rights NGOs have been the driving force behind this initiative. There is going to be a first discussion by a working group in the UN at the end of December this year about whether there should be a complaint mechanism under the Convention on the Rights of the Child. If you're working on this issue, I think it's an excellent opportunity for you to provide your views on this idea. The other is an initiative to draft a declaration on human rights education and training. A first draft is going to be presented to the Human Rights Council in March next year. I am not sure whether that will be the end of the process, but certainly there will be a debate in March about the draft. And if you're working on this topic, I think it's again a good opportunity to provide your views. The last one is an initiative to, by some states, to develop new standards in international law to combat contemporary forms of racism. This is a very topical and sensitive issue. States are very divided on this idea, but there is currently a lack of civil society engagement in the discussions. And here there is a fair bit of time to reflect and consider the mechanism that is discussing it will not lead until late next year. So finally, how can we all make the UN better and more responsive to our concerns? We've spoken generally about the development of new standards and mechanisms to strengthen the system, but there are four or other avenues I think that are important. One is membership of various bodies, one is performance and accountability, NGO participation and space in general, and then reform and strengthening of the system. On membership, I think it's important to keep in mind that many of the human rights bodies are only as good as their members, and so NGOs have a key role to play in both assessing the performance of the various members, but also inputting into who should be a member of various bodies. We've spoken about the membership of the Human Rights Council. The elections will take place in the General Assembly in May next year. It is a key opportunity for national NGOs to think about whether their own government should or should not be a member. There have been very successful NGO campaigns against the candidature of certain states. A few years ago, Belarus tried to become a member, but was not elected, and I think in large part due to very successful NGO campaigns. The following year, Sri Lanka was seeking membership, and was not elected either. Membership in the treaty bodies is decided by the state parties to the relevant convention, but candidatures are sometimes put forward through a consultative process at the national level, so the government will seek input from civil society about who they could put forward as candidate. So it's an opportunity to look at openings, when elections are coming up, to look at whether your government is a party to the treaty in question, and then think about who you think could be a good member who has expertise in the area of that convention. Finally, I think Lucia mentioned in her presentation that there's a new appointment system for special procedures. Anyone can put forward their candidature, both an individual but also organizations. So the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights is keeping a long list of anyone that has put forward their candidature. And so if you think that if you know experts in your country in any of the areas of the mandate of the special procedures, you can ask them to send their candidature to the Office of the High Commissioner, and it will be included on this list for consideration when appointments take place. We've spoken a lot over the past few days about accountability and performance. I want to also reiterate the importance of this. I think there's a lot of work for all of us in monitoring how states are performing in the UN. We're doing some of that work in following the next sessions of the Human Rights Council and producing analysis on what governments are saying. But many other NGOs are also doing work in this area. But I think it's a good opportunity to see how we can work together and build networks and coalitions to pressure governments to do a better job. And if you are interested in finding out about how your government is performing, there are many sources of information, both the online webcast of the Human Rights Council sessions. You can download the statements of your government and search them online. We are providing analysis, and other NGOs are also providing useful information. NGO participation, I think, is a big challenge for all of us to continue to strengthen and improve. It's an area that has come under increasing pressure and attack from governments in recent years, both in the Human Rights Council itself, in the context of the Universal Periodic Review, but also in the treaty bodies where governments are wanting to limit the space for independent voices in these bodies. So, to me, there's a key challenge here in how we can collectively respond to these challenges. I think it's not, we have a collective interest in maintaining and continuing to expand the space for NGOs in these mechanisms, and so it would be very useful to have a reflection on how we can work together in this area. And then I'll just mention very briefly the two key reform opportunities that really call to attention as well. Reform of the treaty bodies is an ongoing process. It has been taking place for several years now. It's being discussed twice a year in the context of the intercommittee meeting of all of the treaty bodies, where we all come together and discuss common issues. The next meeting will be in December, and I believe on the agenda of that meeting is follow-up to concluding observations